Sky Sports have removed most of Anthony Joshua's fights from their YouTube channel. So if you head on over to their channel, hit the search box, and let's say type in Joshua Usyk. That was his last fight. Press enter. It's no longer there. And even his previous fight against Kubrat Pulev. Again, no longer there. You will not find it. There's a lot of the build-up to the Pulev fight and the build-up to the Usyk fight, but in terms of the actual fight footage itself, not there. Joshua Klitschko. Same situation. The footage has been taken off. Now, there are a couple of Anthony Joshua fights still left on there, which is interesting in itself. But as far as why most of his fights have been taken down, you obviously have to assume that either AJ, Matchroom, or DAZN own the copyright. The question is, why have they decided to exercise the copyright and force Sky Sports to take the footage down off their channel? You see, just because you're using someone else's footage, it doesn't mean that you can't use it, because you might have permission. But when permission gets revoked, then you're forced to take the footage down. Have AJ, DAZN, or Hearn hit the Sky Sports Boxing channel with some copyright strikes or takedown notices. If AJ owns the rights, that really will be interesting in terms of why he asked Sky Sports to take the footage down. If it's DAZN or Eddie Hearn that owns the rights, then it's obvious why they would do that, because they don't want Sky to be able to earn money off their fighter. But again, if it's AJ, who apparently left Sky on amicable terms, and of course this next fight, the rematch with Alexander Usyk, is apparently also going to be on Sky, then that would throw that into doubt, how amicable that split with him and Sky really was. And interestingly, I also did a search for Dillian Whyte. So let's say we look for Whyte versus Povetkin, because both of those fights used to be on there. And as you can see, the Dillian Whyte fights are also gone. You'll see some build up to the Povetkin fight and build up to other Dillian Whyte fights. But certainly the Povetkin fights are gone. Whyte Rivas, I did a search for that. That's also gone. You will find a playlist for Whyte Rivas. Right? That's not a video, that's a playlist. But when you click on it, it will tell you this: video unavailable. Perhaps it's Eddie Hearn and DAZN rather than Anthony Joshua that has caused Sky Sports to remove the Anthony Joshua fights, most of Dillian Whyte's fights, or certainly many of them, etc. You see, if it was just AJ's fights, then you could say, maybe it was AJ himself. But the fact that you've also got Dillian Whyte's fights being removed from there suggests that there's some Matchroom, DAZN involvement in the situation. Now, the reason I even talk about this is because the Sky Sports Boxing YouTube channel was a great repository of fight footage. All AJ's fights were on there, Dillian Whyte's fights, and so on. And it's disappointing for me to see them removed. I get it, it's all business and what have you, but just as a boxing fan, it's annoying and it's disappointing. Because again, I wanted to go and watch the Usyk fight again to see if I could spot certain things, to study the footage. But it's now been removed. You can still find a couple of copies on YouTube, but they're very poor quality. The resolution is poor, very grainy and choppy, not very good copies of the fight at all. And I checked on Dailymotion and it's the same situation there. I'm not sure whether I actually downloaded the Joshua Usyk fight before it was removed. I hope I did. I'm going to check my external hard drives. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. What do you reckon happened here? Was it AJ that told Sky to take his fight footage down? Was it Eddie Hearn? Was it DAZN? Let me know. Now, I know some of you are screaming at the screen at this point saying, Hatman, you can watch all AJ's fights on his own YouTube channel. Well, yes, you can watch most of them, apart from his last two. So this is the playlist on AJ's own YouTube channel. The playlist is called AJ Fight Resume. And as you can see, he's got all of his fights up until the rematch with Andy Ruiz. Yeah. From Emanuele Leo and Paul Butlin and all these other fights up until the second Ruiz fight in Saudi Arabia. But he doesn't have the Pulev fight, and he doesn't have the first Usyk fight. And also, if you go back and look at AJ's fights on his channel, the broadcast that he shows on there isn't as comprehensive in some instances as the version that they had on the Sky YouTube channel, where it included more interviews, the ring walks, and all this type of stuff. Whereas with the versions on AJ's channel, it's more bare bones. So bear that in mind. I remember Chris Eubanks Sr. talking about the fact that when he was working with Frank Warren, I believe it was, well, when him and his son were working with Frank Warren, they found out that they didn't own the footage to Eubank Jr.'s fights, that Frank Warren actually owned the footage. And Eubank Sr. wasn't happy about it. This is what he said. And so subsequently, I think they made a point of actually owning the copyright to all of Chris Jr.'s fights. I remember when, I think after he joined Hennessy, maybe even when he was with Matchroom briefly, they were uploading Chris Eubank Jr.'s fights to his YouTube channel. And that right there is often a telltale sign that the fighter themselves actually owns the rights to the footage. Now, getting the rights for your own fight footage, I can't imagine is very easy. You know, that has got to be a hard negotiation when it comes to dealing with a network, because that's how they're going to make the money off you. It's not just the pay-per-view sales and, you know, the advertising revenue on the night, but it's also, how would you describe it? Legacy revenue, you know, where your old fight footage is still making money for them, either by showing reruns on television or by having your fights on their YouTube channel. They're getting advertising revenue off that. So if you're going to potentially take all that away from them, that's going to be a difficult thing to negotiate. You know, some fighters, of course, have got that kind of clout. Evidently, AJ does, or at least, in fact, let me not be presumptuous. It could be AJ, or it could actually be Matchroom that owns the fight footage. And at this stage, after AJ did the deal with DAZN, maybe it's DAZN that now owns the footage. Maybe he's signed over the rights of his footage to DAZN. Who knows? We can only speculate. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you're tired of the biased narratives and mass censorship on mainstream platforms, and you want to be part of a community of critical thinkers who love free speech just as much as you do, then come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide variety of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&As, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got an Element group where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. Unlike Discord, it has full end-to-end encryption, is decentralized, and it's 100% censorship free. You can also send voice notes as well as much larger audio and video files than you can on Discord. So come and sign up on Patreon. There's no contract, there's no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll see you over there. I'm out.